The views and opinions expressed on this station do not reflect the owners, management, staff, clients, or partners.
Monday, the first day of February 2021. Welcome to the Daily Hour, brought to you by Medical House, One Communications, and Lindos. I'm Jamal Hartman, along with Carla Zul. Thanks for making us part of your daily routine. If you're watching online, share the link. If you're on Facebook, start a watch party. If you're on Twitter, retweet it. If you're watching on TV, call somebody up and tell them turn it to channel 82 if they have One Communications. Just get the conversation out there to your network, and don't forget to like and engage with us. A good one to begin the month, we're expecting Cordell Riley, data analyst, to stop by to discuss the current state of global tourism. The daily play is a Who Said It, so Carla is going to be guessing a somewhat famous quote. If you've seen that part of the show, the daily play, before, you know there's a different area every day where we give a little question. And I got some text yesterday, and people are not over the fact that Carla, I don't even want to show the clip, but Carla had a bit of an issue last week with the most southernmost island country in the Caribbean. And well, Carla said Cuba, folks, and that's the most northern. And so she has some making up to do with a lot of the audience. I'll put it like that.
But I gave a disclaimer that I never do well in geography. So what's the big deal? I made a boo-boo. I'm sorry.
You know what someone
Do you
said
have
to
to
me?
mention this every day? Every day.
You know what someone said that just had me laughing? Said maybe they only taught about Scandinavian countries at Work Academy. Ask her where Finland or Switzerland or Norway or Sweden, any of those countries are, and she'll probably get it right away. I said, well, I'm not going there. I'm not going there. I have sisters and godchildren and many that went Work Academy, and Carla does not represent them. So that said, it is another Monday. A lot to talk about. February. Look, I just, on my jog this morning, I came across something, not literally in front of me, but something crossed my mind that February 1st, I know in Britain you have a Black History Month in like October or November, something like that.
In October.
October. Well, American Black History Month is usually celebrated in February, and so it marks the first day. And this is probably going to be unfavorable with a lot of people, but I haven't been a fan of the American Black History Month in probably since I first came to the US in 2001. And I just don't understand, still to this day, how a majority Black country like Bermuda can really focus on Black History Month when, as a majority of the country is Black, we haven't been able to dominate history 12 months of the year. So I guess the question of the morning would be, for the audience, do you think Black History Month should still be a thing? Like, does it have a place? And I want to, it really came from Jackie, because I shared a story in our Daily Hour WhatsApp chat group, right? Did you see the story, Carla?
With the American Airlines?
Yes.
Yeah, let's talk about that. But it's a little sinister stuff in there too, Jamal.
Well, see, let's talk. Let's share a bit with you while that question's up, folks. And if you haven't already, this is a day and conversation you don't want to miss. You want to be a part of this conversation. All right. So the title is from the Grio, thegrio.com, as of yesterday, January 31st, and it says American Airlines charges woman African American service fee. Right. The story goes like this. I don't know how to pronounce the name, so forgive me, but it's Kyetra, Kyetra Bryant. So we're gonna say Miss Bryant, right? So Miss Bryant, basically, she's from Charlotte, South Carolina. I'm sure it says Charlotte SC, but I thought maybe there's a Charlotte in South Carolina as well. It's not me, folks. I'm not Carla in geography. Wants an explanation from American Airlines regarding a racially insensitive bank charge, right? As Brian and her boyfriend were traveling out of Charlotte Douglas Airport on Thanksgiving Day, the story keeps going away for some reason, you guys. On Thanksgiving Day, they checked in with American Airlines and checked in luggage without incident. But when she reviewed her bank statement that Saturday, she found a peculiar charge of African American service charge. You get that? African American service charge. Now, for me, it's like, oh, it's just a error. They meant to put baggage charge, right? She said, I said, African American African service charge. It was just on my cell phone because I was looking at my banking app. I'm like, what is this? She explained. Fox 46 reported that Bryant wasted no time in contacting the airlines to get to the bottom of the matter, but couldn't get any answers from the service representative. Blah, 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 blah. Over the next 2 months, for the next 2 months, she tried unsuccessfully to get answers, but only got the runaround from both the airlines and her bank. Now let's go to American Airlines statement. They said the customer alerted American to offensively labeled baggage fee on her bank statement in mid-December. We were disturbed by what we saw and immediately launched an investigation to understand what occurred. The baggage fee was purchased at a self-service kiosk in Charlotte. Our team members on it are unable to change text when processing a charge, and we've determined the issue originated with the credit card company and bank issuer, right? Well, dissatisfied with the company's statement, Brian said there's really no justification. We definitely felt targeted. That's an instance of racial bias. Bryant plans to reach out to both parties and hopefully get an apology in the near future. Folks, what are your thoughts? Carla, you have some thoughts.
So I read the article and it had a link from Twitter. So I actually went on the Twitter link and read the entire thread, right?
Mhm.
And apparently they're saying the tweeters are saying that you can change the nickname of your vendor or whatever on your credit statement, on your statement. So people believe that she did this
Mhm.
because the kiosk thing stood out for me. You traveled all over, Jamal. You know, if you're doing the kiosk, you do it all yourself, right?
Mhm.
Two, let's be for real. Maybe I'm being ignorant. Why would that charge come up only on her statement? I don't know. I find no disrespect to my Americans, but I find like some people just looking for a reason to sue all the time or find a reason to be relevant. And I don't buy this story at all. I don't.
Um, well, it's obvious that it was on her statement. I'm going to say that. She could not put it on her statement, right? And because it was on her statement, I don't think she had anything to do with it. I just think it was legit an error. Like American Airlines, African American. Yes, it's a tough error and probably a hard sell, right? But I truly believe that it was an error on the part of someone that may have mistyped something. I don't think it was because at the end of the day, I don't think the person at the bank, maybe they did because of the name. I'm not going to be naive. I don't think what is there to gain off of this? Is my point. What's there to gain? So I think it's one of those stories that you're like, it's not that serious. And I'm saying that as a black man. I don't think it's that serious.
The other thing that stood out for me is that she said that it was 2 months of her investigating. If I saw that on my charge, the minute I saw it, I would have kicked up a stink and what have you, because she said no one got back to her. I would have went to the news the next day, not 2 months later. So that's a little red flag for me too. But hey.
I don't think so. Like, I think she did react right away. She what I think she did was give them a chance to respond instead of going right and making a stink. She tried to give them a chance to respond, and they didn't respond. But I guess it depends on the individual and personality. But that's Carla and I's perspective on that. Moving back to the question though about Black History Month, what are you all thinking? I mean, Jackie brought it to our attention in the group. She says, well, this on the start of Black History Month. I'm gonna be honest. I don't celebrate it. I don't look at it as an opportunity to do anything. Uh, you know, our Black History Month. I don't look at it as something for us. It's not for us. It's for them, really. I think that especially in Bermuda, where the country is majority Black, we need to make Black History Month an almost daily thing. And I think we're getting better at it. There's statues and education. We have Rashida Godwin on last week as she was talking about what her and her company do. We can't continue to, how they say things evolve and things change. I think we've evolved past Black History Month. Again, this is no disrespect to those who continue to celebrate it and educate. I'm just saying, like, okay, let's expand it now. Let's make it bigger than just these 27, 28 days. What you saying, Carl?
So what about like in the UK? Like you said, it's in October, and at first I found that weird because I was so used to it being in February. But I do appreciate the fact that being that this is a majority white country, that they do it because it enables. But they do the same thing for Eid, which is Muslims and all of that. So I appreciate it because the children get to learn about each other. So what's your thought on that with a country that's not majority Black?
Um, it's a big difference. I mean, I always used to say in Bermuda, while the majority may be Black, economically, who controls it, right? I think that Black people need to do more to dominate their education and culture. And what I mean by that is when we take charge of our education and culture, we wouldn't have to rely on 1 month to push out our truths. So regardless of population or whatnot, I think part of the problem is, that old term diversity and inclusion. The more you integrate, the further away you get from Black education and history and culture. Now some people may say, oh, are you saying it? Maybe I am saying what you're thinking. I'm not going to shy away from that. Let's go to some comments. I think Mia Hartman says, no one is taking the blame. Bankers passing it off as American Airlines and so forth. Yep, that's relating to the earlier story about the African-American charge. James Burt says, the only plausible gain is someone trying to be a troll. I think that's regarding the African-American charge on the statement as well, which I think is possible. Sam Cat plays, if anything, Black history should be more emphasized, especially in the times we are in. Yeah, no doubt. Again, and I agree with you. It should not be just this 1 month. We need to do more and push it throughout the year. Tariq Shakir, Carla.
I think Black History Month should stay a thing until the world recognizes our history as beneficial to our modern civilization. Even our own people still don't know the accomplishments Black people have done through the years. They normally focus on slavery and civil rights movement. There is more to our story than just trauma.
Indeed, indeed. Um, Sam Cat Place says our children need to know their history. James Birch says Black History Month may be useful for us white people to chip away at our unrealistic world or life views. Well, it's interesting you say that, James, because there is a meme, and the meme is a young Black child with a backpack on and says, "Hey, Black History Month, it's not for me, it's for you all," right? Which may in fact be true. And then I don't know. I don't want to. Is it possible to still have Black History Month but put an emphasis on it year round? I don't know. I just feel like we shouldn't limit it. Nicole Walker says, I think Black history as it stands is twofold. It is used to make our counterparts feel like they are doing something good and also offer information that we were never taught. However, here in Bermuda, there's no excuse to not have our history in the schools. I attended Bermuda Institute, and I'm grateful that we had a Bermuda civics class. And I think that's my point, Nicole. That is it right there. We don't have any excuse at this point not to have our history, Black history, taught amongst us. And that's where I am with it. Sherilyn Pringle, I have recognized Black History Month for years, thankful for a month, but recognized 24/7. I still learn something. So this goes to the point. I think, and Jackie might be answering yes, like, okay, we keep Black History Month, but we put a greater emphasis on history year round. And again, we had Rashida Godwin on last week, and Rashida did a wonderful job explaining what her company does to make sure that they're educating people, right? So it's a tough one. It's a tough one. We're gonna go to the news with Carla, and then we're gonna come back. We have Cordell Riley in the building today. He will be discussing the global state of tourism, so you don't want to miss that conversation. And I'm just gonna give some words about the passing of the late Madame Laverne Furbett. Carla, you ready for the news?
I am.
Over to you.
The very essence of a freedom fighter, said Premier David Byrd as he reflected on the life of former PLP Senator and Labor activist Laverne Furbett. Laverne Furbett was an unwavering force in support of Bermuda's workers, the Progressive Labor Party, and the Bermuda Industrial Union. She will be remembered for the strength of her convictions and the fearless manner in which she communicated the core values of social justice and equality in this society. As we mourn her loss, all Bermuda will fondly recall her vibrant spirit and dedication to the very end of her life. Meanwhile, former Premier Dr. Ewart Brown also paid tribute to Mrs. Furbett, who passed away yesterday, saying, she was the proud mother of two brilliant sons, a doting and loving grandmother, aunt, and friend. In the larger community, Laverne was a dedicated trade unionist, a lifelong PLP activist, and a persistent proponent of freedom, justice, and equality. Personally, Laverne and her sisters Cheryl and Maxine were my cousins and childhood playmates in flats. She was also commonly known as my great defender. Laverne understood that Bermuda is in need of fundamental change and worked tirelessly to accomplish that goal. Wanda and I are grieving today because we know that Laverne spent her entire lifetime laboring for and giving to her family, friends, and country. Her loss is devastating. We will miss her dearly. And the Daily Hour would also like to extend its deepest condolences to the family of the late Laverne Furbett. The Ministry of Health is advising the public about a recall of Waitrose frozen seafood sold exclusively at the supermart on Front Street. This is a voluntary recall because the product may be contaminated with salmonella, which could cause illness if consumed. Symptoms caused by salmonella usually include fever, diarrhea, and abdominal cramps. The product details is the Waitrose and Partners Essential Frozen Food Selection king prawns, mussels, and squid rings, frozen 250 grams, all best for all best before dates up to and including the end of January 2022. The product was shipped to Bermuda and sold between September and December 2020. If consumers have purchased any of the products indicated above, they should return it to the supermarket for a full refund or exchange. Ice cream for breakfast day was created in the 1960s by housewife Florence Rappaport from New York. The idea behind the day was simply that Florence's six children were exceptionally bored one cold and snowy February morning, and she had to come up with something to entertain them so they wouldn't get restless and cranky. As she explained herself years later, it was cold and snowy, and the kids were complaining that it was too cold to do anything. So I just said, let's have ice cream for breakfast. The following year, Florence's children, who obviously enjoyed the new little holiday their mom had created, reminded her of it, and so they celebrated again, and the day became tradition for them onwards. Turning to weather, the high in Bermuda is expected to reach 68 today, while Miami, Florida will see a high of 74, and Birmingham, UK, a high of 38. On a programming note, it's Reggae Mondays all day on the Full 100 radio. Don't miss the mix with Juggle and Jason from noon to 3 p.m. Bermuda time. That's your daily hour news break.
Righty, thanks for that, Carla. Just want to, before we go to break and bring Mr. Riley on, just touch on Laverne Furbert. Today, many are mourning the loss of one who is being described as the former opposition leader, Mark being stated, a warrior queen, a political activist, a unionist, and a woman of courage. Regardless of where you may sit as far as her politics and beliefs, it's fair to say that Madame Laverne Furbert left behind a legacy that won't soon be forgotten. From the battles before my time out in the streets on the front lines to social media entanglements later on in life, Ms. Furbert found a way to make sure her voice was heard. Usually not afraid to confront even the most unpopular of topics, Ms. Furbert made sure that whether you agreed with her or not, that you would feel her presence. Despite our public confrontations, and if you followed either of us on social media, yes, we had many. We also had plenty of side conversations about various issues of the day. She was actually probably my biggest supporter when my position at the Bermuda Tourism Authority was made redundant. Without giving too much of our private conversations away, I want to share this with you. She actually said to me, quote, "Jamel, we may not agree on everything, but rest assured you have a special place in my heart. Ms. Furbert, you've done your work. It's now up to those, every last one of us that you left behind, to continue on from here. You are now with the ancestors, and I'm sure they welcomed you home with open arms. That's what you deserve. Laverne Furbert." Thank you.
Good day, Medical House Doris speaking. Can I help you?
Medical House is Bermuda's leading one-stop shop for healthcare. Bermuda's top doctors, dentists, care homes, and the hospital choose Medical House for a wide range of products.
Anything that we ask them to do, they come through.
These same professional quality products are available to you for home healthcare.
If we can use them, we definitely do so.
Medical House is best known for its uniforms and footwear. It also has restaurant uniforms that stand up to even the toughest shifts. If you're on your feet all day, Medical House has comfortable and stylish shoes that are also durable and easy to clean. Everyone needs some help cleaning up, and Medical House has got it. Leading-edge janitorial, facility, and maintenance supplies are all here. Medical House is on Millreach Lane in Pembroke, where there's private parking right outside the door. Call or visit Medical House today.
We're spotlighting a food producer whose products are made with real wholesome ingredients, such as the highest grade farm-grown vegetables and certified organic free-range livestock with no artificial ingredients or preservatives, and no compromising on the painstaking quality control. Imagine Foods believe that higher quality ingredients, meeting high standards of purity, yield greater nutritional advantages and a more satisfying flavor. This month, we're featuring Imagine Foods organic roasted turkey, vegetable wild mushroom, and savory beef gravy. Lindo's. Why go anyplace else?
And welcome back to the big show. Carla Zul, Jamel Hartman. It's the Daily Hour, brought to you by Medical House, One Communications, Lindo's, and our friends over at Channel 82, where you can watch this and also many other locally produced shows if you have One Communications cable. Thanks again to everyone who continues to watch this show on social media, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, but also those who continue to listen on the full100radio.com. If you don't already, you can download that app. Without further ado, let's bring in our guest for the day, Mr. Cordell Riley, a data analyst, Cordell Riley, who has a lot of insight on the tourism industry. He is one who I would say is always involved in educating young people. I consider myself young still. Well, look, when I say young on this show and I'm referring to myself, I'm usually speaking about like comparing myself to Carla.
After such a beautiful tribute, you're gonna get slapped. Like, really?
Well, no, I just want to give context, folks, because you have those people caller who may say, "Oh, Jamal, you're not that young. You're almost 40 or whatnot." And when I use you as an example, it's easy. You know. Um, so we're gonna have Mr. Riley coming up. Really want to touch on. Did you say it's ice cream for breakfast, day, Carla?
It is. Imagine what the day would be like at the office after that.
Okay, so are you speaking about those who are lactose?
Yeah, like you before you started having vegan ice cream.
Well, so to be fair, it's coconut ice cream. It's coconut. I don't think there's also the soy type ice cream, but I love the coconut. Have you never had it?
I like coconut ice cream, but it has dairy in it. So I've never eaten vegan ice cream or non-dairy ice cream. I would have to be absolutely desperate. But I'll try it.
You know, I want to touch on something because I'm not going to call any names, right? No, but this really confused me. So let me ask, and this is an honest question. I'm going somewhere with this. Do you think people eat pizza and French fries and hamburgers because they want to be fat?
They eat it because it's delicious.
No. I'm going somewhere. It has
I
nothing
know
to.
where you're going.
But do they eat it because they want to be fat?
No, they eat it because they
Okay.
like it.
All right. Why do people drink alcohol?
Because they have children.
Why do people who don't have children drink alcohol?
Because they just enjoy it. It's a social mechanism for some as well.
This is where I'm going with these questions. So, a friend of ours hit me up this weekend and said that they had a Heineken Zero, right? And said it tasted well. And I said, yeah, it's literally tastes the same. And I've heard people out there saying, oh, it's garbage, it's trash. Why would you drink that? Just drink the real thing. And it really hit me that people don't drink to enjoy themselves. They literally drink so they can feel inebriated and get drunk. And it's when you think of that, it's like, so you literally eat junk food so you can be fat. That's what you're saying when you say, oh, why don't you just drink the real thing? If you're drinking for the taste, right? If you're drinking alcohol for the taste because it tastes good, then the non-alcoholic versions that really do taste the same shouldn't be any different, no?
Yeah, but I just think real quick, the cheese is different because you're doing it for health reasons or for the way that your body may respond to it reasons versus I think the principle is a little different for non-alcoholic drinks. But I get your point though.
No, I actually wanted to discuss a couple of weeks ago because I saw people on Twitter talking about alcohol, and when you said that about dairy products, ice cream, I was pretty much just trying to figure out. So people legit drink to get drunk.
I would say no. I would disagree because I couldn't tell you the last time I've been drunk, but I could tell you the last time I had a drink. So
all right, just got Cordell Riley backstage, just waiting on him to update his name. So we'll bring him on the show soon as he's got his name sorted out. Just waiting on you, Mr. Riley, so we can bring you into the show. But meat cannot be compared though. What does she mean?
Meaning it's nothing better than a succulent piece of meat as opposed to the vegan or the non-meat alternative. That's what I'm assuming Lakeem means because that's how I feel.
No, you just eliminate the meat altogether. just
rude.
Just eliminate it altogether. You don't need it. We have cheese definitely does not taste the same. Veggies, meat, nasty. I don't get the fascination with cheese. I don't. I've never been a milk and cheese person. Ice cream's a different story, and I'm glad I have a substitute. I'm gonna be honest with you. Vegan cheese is the nastiest thing I have ever tasted in my life. Like ever.
There's a market. Out here they have these markets usually once a month, and I went to this. The vegan, it was vegan, not even vegetarian, because I could do vegetarian, but the vegan food was off the chain. I could not believe it wasn't even a real steakum, for example. It was so good, but mentally I was struggling because I was like, this isn't really meat, but it was good.
Well, Carla's got those meat issues, folks. Keep it clean. Look, we're going to bring in Mr. Riley to the conversation. We're talking about the global state of tourism. Look, we know Bermudians tourism, it's a big thing in Bermuda. This is a conversation you want to get in on. Mr. Riley, welcome to the show. How are you, sir?
Good morning. Thank you for having me. I'm very well. Thank you.
Good morning.
Wonderful to have
Good
you
morning,
again.
Carla.
One of the few who have made more than one appearance on the big show. So welcome back.
This is my second time. Thank you.
Yes, it is. So look, let's get right to it. In 2014, the government of the day transitioned tourism into an authority, right? Based on your research and information, how successful has this been for Bermuda's tourism product thus far?
Well, you may recall that back in 2019, A.O. Johnson had a Think Fest, and I was a part of that. And the title of my topic was Getting Beyond the Spin. And I was looking at the real numbers for tourism to see if actually they had improved over the years. And in a number of cases, they had not improved. And so we still had a way to go. It showed that, of course, in 2017, there was an uptake in tourism, largely due to the America's Cup. But what we also find, if you look behind the curtain, that the your regular visitors, your business visitors, and your regular visitors, they tended to stay away. If you look at the returns in terms of the number of visitors who came specifically for America's Cup, that was up, but it was off balance by the fact that those traditional visitors didn't come. So the actual bump from America's Cup wasn't as great as it was anticipated. In fact, if you recall, they were saying that we will have to have cruise loads of people docked here because there wouldn't be enough space in hotels. And I used to check the bookings.com throughout the America's Cup, and all through that period, you can still get a hotel in Bermuda, be it was at a higher cost, but it was still available. But the overall impact wasn't as great as anticipated. And then came 2018, we actually had more air visitors. But by 2019, there was a decline in tourism. And my forecast was that 2020 was also going to be down. Airlines were pulling away from Bermuda or cutting back their flights, which meant there was weakened demand. So we were already headed into 2020 with a forecasted downturn in arrivals.
And it's interesting you say that, because one of the, we talk a lot, and I think this is to do with how people feel about the government more than anything else, but we talk about a lot about Bermuda's economy was already in shambles before the pandemic driven recession, right? But what a lot of people don't realize is tourism was also already in a decline before the pandemic hit. And so what you've just pretty much shared right there was that your forecast actually showed that.
Yeah, we were showing certainly the January was down, and that was the very beginning stages. People were still traveling because at that point it was confined to China, and it was slowly spreading throughout the world. And as you recall, it wasn't until March sometime that they declared it a pandemic. So we are already facing headwinds going into 2020, and that's what I was the reason for my topic, getting beyond the spin, because if you look at the cold hard reality that we had real work to do in tourism, and the numbers was actually showing that.
Yeah, we definitely have a spin master over there. A few months ago, I spoke on this show about an article that said tourism globally isn't expected to bounce back for a few years. How long at this current minute? How long do you think it'll take for Bermuda to bounce back? And what does Bermuda need to do to make it happen quickly?
Well, if we look at it regionally, Bermuda has one of the lowest dependencies in terms of GDP with regards to tourism. It's around about 5 or 6%, whereas other countries, it could be more than 50%. And so our loss from tourism, great as it is, if you put that in reality, we have the better chance of recovering regionally from tourism. So how do we do that? Okay, so the chief thing is when our target markets, those areas, are recovering from COVID. Right now, when you look at the UK, you look at the US, you look at Canada, with COVID is still having a very grave impact. So you see Canada just recently suspended all flights. The United Kingdom reduced us to one flight a week. And some of the airlines from the United States have cut back. That's because of lack of demand, because people simply aren't traveling. And so it's a tricky one for tourism. And I've seen some ads from other countries, and I think I did see one recently on television for Bermuda. It's very difficult to advertise to your target market when the target market is going through such devastation, because if you advertise too early, people feel that you're being insensitive, and if you advertise too late, then you might not be able to catch the wave. So it's a very delicate balance that you have to walk here in terms of getting tourism back. So any advertising would be something. I mean, if I was doing some advertising, it'll be along the lines of, when you're ready, Bermuda's open, or something like that. It's so that it doesn't seem to be insensitive. So obviously, this is where your quote unquote spin people come into, because you want to have the right spin on it in terms of being, and this is probably contradictory, you want it so that people have the right message. So you don't want to seem to be overly eager. At the same time, you can't be totally out of the game. So that's one thing, our target markets. And then secondly, of course, having the protocols in place. And I think Bermuda's done extremely, extremely well in terms of putting the protocols in place so that people can actually feel safe. We are now down to very few cases being reported on a daily basis. So we are seeming to be back on top of the virus after the December wave. And so that is now in place. And so once you have all of those things done, and the other countries' numbers are starting to fall. I saw in the news the other day that the numbers in New York and some other states have actually started to fall. The deaths are still there, but the numbers have started to fall. So it tells you that things are still going on in your target markets. And but we're ready. I think by following our protocols, we're ready. There still are very few properties that are open in Bermuda now. If you go on, say, booking.com, you'll see about 9 or so properties in Bermuda. And so that's the other challenge too, that you don't have the properties online as yet.
Indeed. And with our largest properties shutting down, that's also a big dent in our pocket. Changing gears quickly. The Bermuda Tourism Authority just hired a non-Bermudian chief sales and marketing officer to replace a non-Bermudian chief sales and marketing officer. It was reported that Bermudians just didn't apply, right? If true, do you think the history of Bermudians not applying for the not getting these positions or being given an opportunity in these positions played a role in them not applying? And what needs to be done to get Bermudians, especially Black Bermudians, into these top positions?
Well, yeah, if there seems to be a history of Bermudians not getting in those positions, and then the question is, well, what's the point? I'm not sure if it was aggressively stated that Bermudians should apply. I didn't know that there was that post had been advertised. So if I didn't know, maybe others didn't know as well. So where was it advertised? I mean, obviously, not many people are buying the newspaper these days. So if you're not buying that, where do you see these ads? Certainly with the CEO position, it was announced that they were looking for a CEO, and then I went to the website and then I saw you can apply there. So if you were saying if there was some sort of announcement, well, not only in the in the newspaper and there an electronic version, but also in other electronic medias, promoting the fact that these positions are available, and we actively want Bermudians to apply. Once you receive that message, then some people will think that they will be in with a chance. So I was rather surprised when I was told that position was filled overseas by non-Bermuda, because I had not even seen, like I said, any ads for that position.
Yeah. Also interesting that they hired that position without hiring the CEO first. It's weird to me.
Now, Mr. Riley, most tourists, when they visit islands, they want to see island people serving them, hosting them, etc. But yet, in Bermuda, there's an overarching feeling that locals can't afford to work in hospitality. How can that change to lure more Bermudians in and them to have a sustainable lifestyle with how everything is so expensive on the island?
Well, that's the catch-22, because if you go back to tourism, 20, 30 years ago, those Bermudians who worked in tourism were able to buy the homes, be able to travel and do all kinds of things such as that. Um, Real wages have declined, particularly in that sector over the years, and so it is not uh, easily easy to be able to afford a living in Bermuda with some of the wages, and of course with um, the bringing in of lower skilled non-Bermudians, and you hear um, that some are being paid $6, $7, $8 an hour. Then Bermudians have to compete with that. They compete against that. I'll just change gear a minute and put my wage commission hat on. I've had people reach out to me, Bermudians, and say, I've only been paid $10 an hour. I've only been paid X number of dollars an hour. When you look at that, you'll see that that isn't very much money in being able to live in Bermuda today. So obviously there's something that that needs to be addressed, and of course that's falls in my team's lap to look at that. So that's one aspect of it, and that's going to take a while in terms of getting people back, because stigmas are going to be around a while, and of course parents will say to their children, I don't want you to work there. I want you to be in, say, international business, or I want you to be a lawyer, and all of those sorts of things. And so part of that is that parents will steer their children away from tourism until they see better opportunities for their children. So I think things like hiring non-Bermudians in these executive positions reinforces the view that there's lack of an opportunity for Bermudians to be in those top positions, when in the past we've held all of those positions. So I think there has to be a mindset at the very top in terms of who do you want. I think I was most disappointed when it was announced that the BTA was looking for a global CEO. And that could be translated as non-Bermudian. If you are not a global CBO, so if you haven't worked overseas, and there are some Bermudians who have worked overseas, they may feel that they can apply. But if you haven't had any overseas experience, you may feel that this is certainly not for you and won't apply. So again, if you want Bermudians to be in there, you have to send a message that they're directly wanted in these top positions.
Now, based on your research, what are tourists looking for? And does Bermuda have the tools to deliver those experiences?
Well, I think tourists still want unique experiences, and I think some of the key players and some of the smaller players have actually been are doing that. You mentioned Rashida Godwin and what her company's doing. Certainly, we were involved in still involved in the Blue Flag program, where we educate Bermudians about the history and that sort of thing, so that when they interact with visitors, the experience becomes far more meaningful to them. So the traditional things, of course, water sports, the beach, et cetera, et cetera. But we do have a wealth of history in Bermuda, and that's sustainable year round. And I often talked about having a sort of twin with Jamestown in Virginia, and we go to Jamestown and we get the history buffs and we bring them here, November, December, even now, because history is not dependent on the weather, and we have so much history that's tied to the United States, for instance, our key market, that we can exploit that more and make tourism more sustainable. So authentic experiences, historical experiences, and of course, what we are doing now, sports tourism, That's something I spoke about in my dissertation when I did my master's degree in tourism marketing. My goodness, more than 30 years ago now. So that was one of the things I had recommended. Was sports tourism, and the government is now, and the BA is now certainly looking at that on a more sustainable basis. So I think those kinds of things will certainly help us going forward.
Now, Bermuda has had its challenges attracting tourists. How do you believe Bermuda could be impacted if vaccination passports are introduced by both the airlines and the cruise lines?
Did you say visitors or Bermudians? Sorry, visitors.
If how would it impact tourists coming to Bermuda?
Yeah. Okay. So, well, it's two ways. Obviously, if more people were vaccinated, it would increase uh, tourism. But the access to vaccinations is definitely going to be key. And so we see right now in the United States, for instance, there's a shortage of vaccinations. And so if there's a shortage of it, people may be less willing to fly. I mean, right now you'll be able to fly with a negative test, with all those protocols in place. That's working to the best it possibly can. But no one really believes that, and no, everyone believes in tourism that things will not change drastically until there's a vaccination. And then, of course, you're going to run into those who, for one reason or other, may not want to be vaccinated. So as long as that is not mandated, we should be fine. But certainly, everyone's hoping that the vaccinations will lead to greater instances of travel, and that's what the tourism industry is banking on.
Now, people have spoken about how legalizing cannabis and gaming could enhance tourism. Has Bermuda missed the bus, or is there still a chance? And how could it change the perception that people have of Bermuda?
Well, I mean, for gaming, I never really thought that was going to be a game changer.
Hello?
Yeah, I hear you.
Is everything okay?
Oh, so you were saying about if legalizing marijuana, and gambling, will that be a game changer for Bermuda?
Do you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, it looks like my picture's frozen, but I can. I don't think gambling is going to be the game changer that it was. People thought it will be. In my travels overseas, where I've seen casinos and hotels, I very rarely saw many people in them. People said that it's an alternative, it's something for them to do. So I think I would agree with Carla that we probably missed the boat there, because that is seems to be, in my view, maybe passé. The legalization of marijuana, we've certainly seen other places do that. Again, I've actually been to Colorado, in Denver, shortly after they had legalized it, and I was expecting to see people all in the streets and everything, smoking, everything like that. I didn't actually see any of that until on a Friday night. That was the first time I actually smelled marijuana in an open space. But I don't know if that's going to be the game changer. I think what that will do, if people who came who are recreational users, they won't be hauled off to the courts, and so I think that would act as something positive, where they're not criminalized for coming down with recreational use. But I'm not sure how legalizing it is going to have a major impact in tourism. I think decriminalization of it and not locking up visitors for small amounts, certainly not the same for locals, will have an impact, a positive impact from the start.
Now, there are some markets Bermuda hasn't tapped into, though there's been interest of late, like in the African American market. Some feel it hasn't been enough. Based on your research, should Bermuda be more aggressive in trying to attract African Americans, and how should they go about it?
Well, that's the catch-22. I think we've always had less than 5% of visitors being African American. Our ads didn't seem to target African Americans in any way. And so again, we are people that tend to go where we're wanted and we're appreciated. If there's no indication, excuse me, that we're being welcomed, then we'll go other places where we're being welcomed. So the tourism, the BTA have this stated in their tourism plan that they intend to double the African American visitor by 8%. So therefore, you have to target them specifically. And so once you have that message out that they're welcome, they will come. And so certainly there's a large portion of African Americans who are affluent, who can certainly afford a Bermuda vacation, excuse me. But unless you aggressively go after them, they're likely to go to other places which seem to be more welcoming. So we certainly, again, the messaging has to be out there. We have to target them like we would target any other group, and then we'll see the results of that.
Let's go to the audience. James Burt says, what does Cordell, I don't know if you know him, but what does Mr. Riley attribute to the trended rise in visitor arrivals and total leisure spending from 2015 onwards?
What is the leisure spending? Sorry, give me that question again. I didn't.
What does Cordell attribute the trended rise in visitor arrivals and total leisure spending from 2015 onwards?
Well, I think part of that was the build up to the America's Cup. So that obviously had an impact in the spending, as we saw that. But as we got beyond the America's Cup, as we got beyond 2018, we started to see that actually fall. So there was a build up, and that certainly cannot be denied. The America's Cup did have a bump with regard to tourism. But what happened, it was not sustainable as it was promised. It was saying that, I mean, the early reports, and certainly in the economic impact that was done, or the potential impact that was put out prior to America's Cup coming, it was saying that it would be sustainable for at least 5 years or more. It was only sustainable for 2018, and then we started to see decline. So it was trending upwards from about 2016, because 2015 was a year that tourism was down, if my memory serves me correctly. So we started to see some impact from 2016, but I attribute that to the build up to America's Cup. And then the minute that was going, in fact, there were studies that showed that once the sustainability impact after the event doesn't really happen, because the build up to it puts the focus on the destination, but once it moves, that focus is taken off the destination. And so we really weren't supposed to be expecting any bump long term, because we didn't have another event that would put the focus on the island. So it was trending up, but it was certainly starting to after 2018 was going back down.
Running out of time here, but I just want to piggyback that before we go to one more comment. But piggybacking on that, I think and this is personal as well as reality. I think what you're explaining about sustainability, I think when you look at what the BTA produced as their numbers, it was probably one of the biggest facades ever. And what I mean by that is what Cordell Riley is speaking of is the job of the Bermuda Tourism Authority is not to just get people in for a short amount of time. It was to get people in on a continuous basis from now, even after this event. Remember, a lot of the talk was about using the America's Cup to build on And while there's going to be comments made that, well, when government changed, they pushed back, there will be comments made that the recession came. At the end of the day, whether it was America's Cup or the triathlon, these were events that cost a lot of money to the taxpayers of Bermuda that did not deliver the long-term impact that they promised. And I think that's the overall point that you kind of making just now in response to what that gentleman was saying. Just one more comment I want to go to before we take a break, because we are out of time. Nikki Michelle says, why isn't there proper succession training in BTA/exempt companies that guarantees for interested Bermudians, a training program for those specifically interested in C-suite positions? If I were in the government, never. That would be mandatory. Hiring a foreign executive on a contract specifically with the task of training Bermudians. Well, many people have said that about the lady Isley and others. Like, why weren't Bermudians in place? But is there something that can be done? Can you answer that in less than 30 seconds?
Well, again, you have to send the message that you want Bermudians. The minute you let people know that you are wanted and actively will be placed in those positions, you will get the Bermudians who will do what it takes to get there. But what you have now is Bermudians who have the qualifications to hold those positions, but for reason, this whole term global now, it seems to put emphasis. Well, if you have qualifications, you've only worked in Bermuda, that's not enough. I personally don't think a global CEO is going to change Bermuda's dilemma. The person is going to have to come up to speed with Bermuda, the product Bermuda, and that's going to take them some time. And then they're going to have to face the challenges that everybody else in that position has faced. So I don't know if that's the answer, but if you want Bermudians in there who already have that knowledge, you can let them know that we're definitely hiring Bermudians, and there's a plan of succession for you.
Cordell Riley, thank you so much for taking the time to do this. Always provide a wealth of knowledge with the data. We will be having you back again for more, because there's a lot more to discuss on many topics. So thanks for making time for us.
Thank you for having me, and have a great day. And also my condolences to Laverne's family.
Indeed. Thank you so much. Talk soon. All right, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be back to wrap it up. We have the daily play. Don't think you all want to miss this, so stick with us, and Carla will send you off with some inspiration.
Bermuda, do you know the difference between internet and Wi-Fi? Don't worry, neither did I. Let me break it down to you. Internet is delivered to your modem, which then has to push the Wi-Fi signal into the rest of your home. Do you find that the further you're away from your modem, the weaker your Wi-Fi signal gets? That's because Bermuda's homes are built hurricane tough. It's really difficult for that Wi-Fi signal to reach every room. But you're in luck. Our One Home Wi-Fi solution guarantees Wi-Fi coverage in and around your home with the help of our Eero devices. Plug in the Eero around your home and it will create a mesh Wi-Fi network in every room. Check us out at One today to sign up and make sure you can stream, work, and play from every corner of your home.
So my name is Denny O'Connor. I'm part of the Bermuda Travel Concession. I have a great partner named Jennifer, and we are overseeing the 3 restaurants here at the airport.
We knew we needed the support of the Bermuda Economic Development Corporation in order to help us with not only our business plan, but also financing. So financing was one of the biggest things, and we knew that we could count on BEDC because we've used them in the past and they've always come through for us.
Someone that is starting their own business, I would just say keep running. And when I mean run forward. Don't run backwards, don't run away from it.
It is instrumental to have a good support team around you. Don't take failure as a setback, take it as a setup for future opportunities and more learning and understanding and growth.
So whenever I'm doing a business venture, I'm always looking to contact BEDC because I feel that they are the support system behind my success. I'm very excited and very motivated to be working with them and learning and growing as they are great guidance for us. I would encourage someone starting their own business to look BEDC up, for sure.
Welcome back to the Big Show. Carla Zul, I'm Jamal Hartman. Here we go. If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure you give us a like. Make sure you give us a love. Make sure you give us something in the comments. Just make sure you're engaging with us. James Birch, I'll just respond to this because we don't have time. You're basically taking numbers given to you by the organization. We've been through this. I'm not going to keep going through this, but the BTA was a farce. Bottom line. Long may it get better with some Black Bermudian appointments that are qualified to do the job. That said, Carla, here's the question for today. Help her out, folks. Quote, some will agree with me, others will not. And that's okay by me, end quote.
Laverne Furby.
Yes. She got it. Yes. That is a quote by the late Laverne Furbett. former senator, political activist, and as described by some warrior queen, she said, quote, some will agree with me, others will not, and that's okay by me, end quote. If there's anything that summed up Laverne Furbert, it is that. Carla, you got any motivation for us today?
Please think about your legacy because you are writing it every day. Gary Vaynerchuk.
All right. Thank you for that. Any final words on today, Carla?
No, but that was a beautiful tribute that you did. I thought it was very on point. So again, my condolences to the family of
Indeed.
Miss Farbett.
Indeed, indeed. And I don't want to, I didn't do it and I'm not going to do it, but I just want to say I've never been one to write under a pen name. And I just think to do so about someone who's no longer here to defend themselves is one of the most cowardly acts. I'll leave it at that. To the entire family, the political party, the union, and all organizations that she was a part of, sincere condolences. And let's just do the work to keep her legacy and the work that, look, she wanted to see the Union Jack removed before she laid to rest. And we still have a long way to go to make some of these dreams come true for many who have passed on. On that note, thanks again to our partners, Medical House, One Communications, and Lindos for ensuring that we're able to do this with you on a daily basis. As always, we appreciate you, we love you, and we thank you for making us part of your daily routine. If all goes well, we'll be back to do this again with you tomorrow. She's Carla Zool. I'm Jamel Hartman. My friends, make it a great day.